This is King Bo Christ, and you're now tuned in to the I Say That to Say This show. Beautiful people, welcome back to the I Say That to Say This podcast. I got a special guest here today. You know, that's the beauty of Twitter, that you run into people from all walks of life, you name it. I came across this guy's story, this guy's social media page, and I'm like, I gotta get this guy on the show. Episode 31. So we got Michael Trey. We were talking before we started recording about you being at a conference. Tell me about what you're doing up in DC, because you're from Florida, so I won't say down in DC. It's down to me, but you know, that's another story.
Originally I'm actually from Media, Pennsylvania, which is outside Philly, but I go to college in Florida, and we're up here this weekend for the Human Rights Campaign HBCU Summit, which is building leaders at HBCUs that want to see, any kind of, change come to their campus as regards to like LGBT, youth and LGBT Black people.
Oh, that's awesome. So you are a gay man, which I actually didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Not that it would, you know what I mean? I don't know how I realized that, but you know what I mean, like on social media.
Yeah. I just am who I am, and sometimes it's weird. Some people don't get it, and some people do, and but it's whatever. That's just one part of my life. Try not to make that everything about who I am. So
no, that's good, because you don't want to fall into label. That's why I said I don't know how I would know that. It doesn't even matter, but it's cool to. Do you feel like, because you're in the LGBT community? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like well, there's sirens now. I hear the sirens. I don't know what's going on in DC, but make sure you're right over there.
literally just walked inside so that.
No, it's all good.
It's bad. So, yeah.
But before we get into the LGBT community, how is it being at a HBCU as opposed to is this your first college you went to? Did you transfer anything, or did you go straight there?
Yeah, I was originally at a school called St. Augustine's University in Raleigh, North Carolina, and that's a small HBCU too. I was there actually after my first year coming out of high school. I graduated high school 2010, and then left after 2011 to go to Bethune-Cookman, and overall it was a great decision. So
cool.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a difference between college, or is it like the same atmosphere, is just more like Black people or people of color, or do you feel more comfortable in there? Because that's one thing I don't want to say regret, but I regret not going away to college.
He wasn't the same guy that was. Say that again. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I was saying that I'm not saying it's a big regret, but I do regret not going away to college.
Okay, and I noticed that too. So you didn't go. So, but you went right into the workforce pretty much.
Yeah, I've always worked, and I wasn't sure what exactly I wanted to do with my life. I knew I wanted to own a business. Right. So school was never really a priority. I graduated in 2007. So in 2007, I had enough. I don't want to say sense, but I knew myself enough to be like, all right, school's not necessarily my answer. If I'm gonna, what am I gonna go to school to get a job for someone else? I'd rather just find exactly what it is I want to do, and be in that workforce and be in that field before I decide to go back to school, if that makes sense. So when the time came for college, I was like, all right, I'll just start at community college, Nassau, here in New York, on Long Island, and decide what I want to do from there. So, as I was saying, that was one thing I kind of wish I just got to experience at least just one semester, just going away to college, being away from everybody, and committed to that decision.
Right.
So, with campus life, did you feel like it was easy to adjust moving to another state or city?
Yeah, and I'm gonna, the whole time I'm gonna make sure I'm as transparent, as honest as possible, because, I want people to understand, like, people go through stuff and people have changes, go through things. That's all a part of the story. But going there, like, getting used to college life, especially in Florida, where I'm from Pennsylvania originally, it was culture shock for me. It was culture shock going to a black college. It was, and it might sound crazy coming out of my mouth because, okay, right, black man talking about it's culture shock to go to HBCU, but that is true because I didn't grow up in an area where, like, of course I'm black, my family's black,
sure,
and I had my time with my family, but as far as my friends and the people that I was around growing up, I had all different kinds of colors of folks. Like, I had my white friends, I had my Asian friends, I had my, everything.
Sure.
Diversity is important to me, and it's not like I got up one day and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go out and try to find friends from all different, like, backgrounds. It just kind of happened because of the area I'm from.
Sure, and that's the same thing with me, actually. I grew up in a predominantly white school, so all my friends were... I mean, my friends at home were black, but my friends at school, we just all mixed. Like, Asian friends, I have a Persian... like, our crew was one Persian dude, a Greek dude, two black dudes, an Irish kid, you know what I mean? So we just... I come from, like, relatively the same background.
Right.
Do you think... I mean, I guess not feel like fitting in, but do you feel like... I feel like I'm better with a diverse group of people instead of just all one crowd. I don't if that's kind of hard to explain, but does that make sense to you actually?
Absolutely. I mean, you want to be able to hang around different people.
Sure.
All the time, because it's just nice, and I think you can relate to this as when I say this too. Is that growing up around different kinds of people all the time, it prepares you to always want to do that with the rest of your life. So it's not weird when, you talk to somebody who's a different race, or somebody who's a different height than you are, or somebody who has a different style of fashion than you do, or someone who talks differently than you. Having that in your life really does help you make, become an overall better person. It's just facts. That's just how it is. And I've learned that the best people, the biggest leaders in our world, are able to talk to those kinds of people, different people, and people that the rest of the world wouldn't see as necessarily, the one.
No, 100%. You're absolutely right. And not to say, like, if there's a room full of 100 black people, I'm gonna get along with everybody just great, and it's gonna be 100 different stories. But a room full of 100 people, like 100 different people from different backgrounds and everywhere, it's just like different cultures. Yeah. It's something about it is just like, wow. It's that, but see, exactly what I'm saying. But as far as the listeners, some people really don't come from that. And that's what, and there's a culture shock in there from their own perspective of being like, whoa, it's just different people. Like, they're not used to seeing, walking in the room being the only black person or the only white person or whatever.
Absolutely.
And that's actually what I think is wrong with the country. And I really try to stay away from politics as much as I can when I'm having a good time.
It's hard not to.
But it fucking hovers over us. But I think that's the problem with where we are in the country is everyone's just we're so sensitive, but we're so closed off at the same time, which is exactly why I think we're in that mix we're in. And it's funny. I had a professor just last night. He was saying something, and I never knew this about him, but last night I guess he was just in his feelings, or I don't know what was going on. But he said he made like he was like, like selling plutonium to the Russians, and no one said anything because it was just so random, and we were just like, what? And then he said, I don't want to offend any Democrats in here, and I like, when you're zoning out a little, like I looked up, like, wait, what are you talking about?
Just say that.
Yeah, like I'm like, wait, what road are we going down? And then he was saying something, and then I don't like I said, I don't know. It sounds random, but it's just how I heard it. He's like, like these NFL players, and I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, I really was looking around, and like we're looking around at each other, and we're like, am I? So and at that point, I'm like, all right, I'm not crazy. So then he's like, I don't want to offend anyone in here. But as soon as he said that, I was like, he's about to get crazy. He's like, that's why these NFL players kneeling, like I can't watch it. And one girl was like, at one of my high school football game, one of my fire chiefs was yelling at a football player for kneeling, and he was like, "Yeah, I wish he hosed him off." And I looked at him like, "Oh shit." And I actually, and I normally don't hold my tongue. Like, I normally just say what I want to say. But I'm like, nah. I'm like, you're so ignorant and you're so far gone that I know I'm not going to be the one to save you right here. And normally I do feel like I'm that guy. But it was so random and, like, just out of nowhere that I was like, nah, you got something you want to get off your chest, and I'm not going to let you use it on me. So, and I really, on the way home, I was thinking, like, damn, like, how are you a professor for 30 years at a community college, and you really would say something that ignorant? And I'm like, I don't know. We're so sensitive, but now out of nowhere, like, people have balls that they didn't have before.
Yeah, you said something that, man, I really agree with. That in 2017, like, right, we become so sensitive, and I think one of those major reasons is because here in this country, we've been trying to accommodate every set of culture in this country. Like, we've been trying to say, you matter, and you matter, and you matter, and you matter, instead of, right? So you can't ever say, like, you disagree with something or that you don't necessarily like something. And if you do,
forget
then all
about
of a sudden you're a bad human being, you're a bad person.
Right.
And it's like, no, this is part of my belief system, like what I like my moral set. Like, I'm not trying to walk around here and offend people all the time. But if I see something and I don't agree with it, I'm going to say I don't agree with it.
Sure.
And that's my right, and that's the beautiful part about living in this country.
I 100% agree. And that's why it was also a weird dilemma, because last night I wanted to be like, the fuck are you talking about? But this guy's my professor, and the way it was so random, and if you just felt the energy in the room, I was just like, you know what? Like, I don't get uncomfortable, but it was actually an uncomfortable moment for me. I was just like, oh shit. Right. Like, bro, have he's like
surprised from it.
If I had to put an age on him, I'd say like between 65 and 70. So you just know he's old enough to be like, bro, you saw the civil rights movement first. I was born in 1988. I wasn't there, but I saw it, so I know. I know you lived through it to see that firemen were spraying black people with water, like fire hoses. So I was like, I don't know if you meant that the way I took it, or you just saying it without thinking. And then I was just like, you know what? Like, all that was processing in my mind, and I was like, nope, just shut up. I was like, just shut up. Don't say it. Don't say it. Like,
don't let it come out your mouth.
Yeah, and it was fucked up, and that was the fucked up moment where I'm like, damn, he's actually wrong, and I'm the one who's like, nah, I'm not going down this road with you. And I'm like, is that where we are? Like, the people, everyone's so sensitive, but the people who's offended, and I'm not that kind of guy to play victim, but I was just like, damn, like, I feel like I'm in a terrible situation, like,
right.
You know. But anyway, that I don't want to. We could go down the road of politics forever. But so back to like the. Do you feel like at school? And you're not that much younger than me, but you're in college or at like on campus. Do you feel like the atmosphere is a little less tense? See, right now you're on the road, so you're out and you're doing what you're doing. But as far as school, do you feel like it's tense, or is it the same, or what's the atmosphere like on campus?
And again, I'm gonna be honest with you. Whenever I leave that place, because my mind has kind of checked out of college. Like, I'm already through my career. Like, I already have my classroom. I'm already teaching my kids.
Oh, cool!
Like,
nice.
I'm already
Congratulations.
there. In my head, I'm not saying I'm already there. Already. I'm just saying in my head, I'm just checked out.
You checked out.
And so, like, I was just saying to somebody today, like, the unity between students, the overall, like, camaraderie is not what Bethune-Cookman used to be like years ago. It's just not the same.
Really?
And I can have wow. You can have a lot of students. You can have a lot of students say whatever, but from someone who's lived on the campus and seen, stuff happen, I've been in and out of school for some years now, and so I've had a little bit more of an opportunity to just, you feel me, like, I've been able to see more and hear more and do more than I think most students on that campus, because most students, it's like a blur. They go there and it's like, 3.5, 4 years, I'm out of there.
Sure.
And that's, what I feel about, what's going on there. Like, there's some positive things that I could point out, but there's been years and years, and there's been lots of people, especially with HBCU culture, there's been lots of people in leadership, men that take advantage of historically black colleges and universities. They get in these leadership positions there, and they don't do what they're supposed to do. And who pays in the end? The students at those schools. You know, because you can ask these questions all day long. Why aren't HBCUs, all of them, as big as the rest of our competitors? There's a reason for that. You know, and I think a big reason of that is financial, like people taking advantage of financial, responsibilities when they shouldn't be doing that. Like if you're not ready to be a president of a university and make sure you're there to care for those students and make sure they get everything they need, why the hell are you there?
Yeah.
You know, and you're continuing, you feel me, you're continuing to put the cycle of ignorance in these schools and just let it go however you want. And most of these people got degrees, got 2, 3, 4 degrees, you know, all educated, all academic, and they're completely ignorant to the fact that they're just really bad people that don't need to be in there, you know. But I love my school, you know, and I won't ever stop loving it because I believe in the legacy of BCU. Like when you think about Dr. Bethune, Mary McLeod Bethune, and what she did as a civil rights activist and women's rights leader, man, she did a lot, and she was a leader in herself, you know. And it kind of gives you pride to know that, right? Because your founder was that woman, you can in turn be the same, if not greater than what she was. You know, and there's no feeling like that in the world.
Yeah, true.
And that's kind of why I lasted at Bethune-Cookman versus students who maybe transferred to FAMU. No shade to FAMU.
I don't know. That might have been a shot. I don't know.
no shade. You know, they were Florida's first Negro school. School for Negroes. They were the state normal school for Negroes, and then it became.
I never knew that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then it became FAMC, and then it became FAMU. You know, so as great and as big as FAMU says they are, they got issues too. And we could talk about HBCUs all day, but and I believe in the legacy, so that's why I stayed, and I still believe in that, even with all the negative stuff that I pointed out or that's bothered me. You feel me? So.
And you know what? That was actually a lot of what you were talking about before, like just being in those positions and having 3 and 4 degrees. Like that was actually a lot of my problem with school, that I knew people, even now, like I see my friends that are teachers and I'm like, if they only fucking knew what you did after 4 o'clock, you know. But I see people, and like that degree doesn't define what you contribute to the world, although it means something for your personal life.
As soon as I'm done. Okay. Say that. I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
No, it's all right. I was just saying, like, that's actually my beef with college, and as a whole. Well, how people value their degrees. I won't say college. I'll say people value those degrees, like you were saying. Like I don't know. It's just they let that piece of paper define them instead of what they actually have to offer someone. So someone will be in those top positions and they'll say to you, yeah, I have 2 doctorates and whatever subjects you can name. And I'll be like, yeah, but you still, is your energy there? Is your passion there? So even, for example, my professor, leaving last night, like this guy's been teaching there for 30 something years, 40 years. And it's just like, but you still, even in that moment, you don't realize that effect that could have on a person. Like, and it's funny when you were talking about being checked out. This is my last class before I get my associates. So I was when I say I was listening, but I just wasn't there. I know what you mean. Like I was totally checked out. And when he said that and driving home, I'm like, damn, you know, I haven't taken one thing from that class, and it's fucked up that's going to be my impression of him. So when you look at those degrees and you look at that, it's like, what are you still offering the world? You know, like it's bigger than those titles and whatever else. And don't get me wrong, a lot of great things come out of colleges, but
just to add to that, like I've learned this too from meeting professionals throughout college, and even when I go to these I'm starting to go to a lot more summits and conferences now where I'm able to be around different people and hear different people's perspectives. This is just the real truth, and I hope everyone who's listening to this podcast understands this. A lot of these big name people who are going to hire you and put you in the workforce, they could most of them could give a rat's stitch people from University of Nebraska or all these places. What they care about is, do you have a degree, and are you the kind of person I want to work with? They don't. I mean, they care more about. Are you the kind of person I want to work with versus really what school you ever went to, which is what makes it so beautiful for you to be able to say, I went to a lesser known university and I came out being the young man that I am, and you could say the same thing, as being the person that you are, and so just a steady reminder for people is like, and I learned this really quick, but that's the case, man. Like there's a part of them that cares about that degree, yes, but don't take it so seriously that like I know from going to Bethune-Cookman, right? I can compete with the best elementary education majors or the people that are going to be in my field in the world, and I can confidently say that because I've been prepared at my school. But not only that, man, I tried to I wanted to figure out what is this going to do for my life? How is it going to be enriching? I want to be a better person, but I want to give that to kids. And man, that passion and that drive and your character and your morals and your belief system and who you are as a person, man, that's going to outride. People will listen to that when they hear you talk.
Oh, of course,
people
absolutely.
Hear that, man, and they will. That's just amazing to point out that there.
And that's why I wanted you on the podcast. I'm like, yo, this guy has a good energy about him. Like, you're always positive and just doing like that. Exactly what you just said is like refreshing to know that people are still out there and that feel that way. You know what I mean? And I definitely I think it's a great thing. You're going out and you're doing these conferences and you're talking to people and you're doing podcasts and you're doing that and just spreading your message. I think that's awesome, man.
And man. What party? Warby Park? Oh, and that's another good thing to point out too, man. Is because like you wanna just be right. So I've been through some hard things. We've all been through things that like, okay, sometimes we can't talk about it, or sometimes we can. And there's things that have completely changed our lives. It is good for your mental health. And I want everybody to hear this. It is good for your mental health if you constantly stay in a positive mindset, because some of us have been through some things, and I know I'm talking to some people, man, that really should have killed us and should have changed us dramatically. But because we stayed positive about that situation or going through that situation, we allowed that situation to change us and change other people at the same time. And that's what life is about. If you just can fall down 1,000,000 times, man, and still get back up every fucking time, you're sending a message to the world. You're sending a message to the universe that you're not going to quit, and whatever you've been through is not going to make you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it's all about. And being that person and taking that in the world, people want that. And that's why we have to practice it ourselves. Like I don't always practice it every day. Sometimes I'm negative, man. That's just being real. But staying in a constant positive mindset and just staying on that, that's what you need in life.
Oh, I totally agree, man. I totally agree. So what made you want to become a teacher?
I had a lot of family members who were educators in my life, and
is that what I should call them? Should I say educators instead of teachers?
What's that?
I said, should I say educators? Is teachers like outdated?
Well, see, there's actually two different definitions for educator and teacher.
Oh, okay, please. School me, please.
What? We won't get into that because I don't want to embarrass my professor. But I will say to the world that there are two different definitions for educator and teacher, and I encourage everybody to go look up the definitions, and I promise you, you'll see two different definitions.
Wow.
But I just can't remember them right now because my inquiry mathematics teacher went over it, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember it. So, I do remember that those are two different definitions.
See, look at that. Now that's how you know that you're an educator, I guess I'll say, because you just gave us a homework assignment. That's some shit. Like, I don't know how you guys do that, but you just did it. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. That's
so everyone listening, go look up teacher versus educator. Inform yourselves. Is that always what you wanted to do from young?
No, that's not always what I do. I actually, coming out of high school, I wanted to be in the field of architectural engineering or interior design. And it's funny, I kind of still see myself there. So hopefully, in the future, I can get some training, at maybe not at a big school, but at some type of facility where I can do that and do that work that I love, because I've always been into art, and art has kind of always been my thing. Drawing, art, when I was younger, just art class was everything to me, and that's kind of how I got into music and band and choir and just the arts in general, performing arts. But I'd not always wanted to be a teacher. The reason being a teacher came about is because when I got to college, I just felt like the most realistic thing for me to do. And this is another thing I want to point out is, like, don't settle for what you think a realistic expectation is or supposed to be in your life. Don't allow that to stop you. And if there's a major, talking to my high school kids or my college students who are younger, maybe freshman, sophomore, want to change their major, don't settle for what you think your mom and dad thinks that you should be. You need to do the thing that you love the most, and forget the money, because I promise you, if you have a passion for it and you love it, the money's coming. And I truly believe that. Like,
I truly believe that. And I hate that it sounds so cliche at this point, but that is 100% true.
It does. It sounds absolutely cliche.
And I want to point that out because it's 100% true, but it sounds, when you tell people don't worry about the money, like, I feel like you lose them. But the older you get, you realize, like, oh shit, that's very true.
And getting older, you understand as you get older, money doesn't mean a damn thing. Its value becomes less and less and less in your life because you're not holding it up as high. As young men and women, they tell us, oh, you need to make sure you go get that money, and I've learned that even the old folk, they even will say to you, hey, like, I've been through many things in life, but I've learned this ain't really nothing, because it comes as quick. It goes as quick as it comes. You understand? So, but yeah, man, like, just, and I've actually had like 3 job offers already, and I'm not even finished school. But those same people that interviewed me for these positions, and I didn't say yes to any of them. I just said, hey, can I just hold on to your information, because I'm not ready to make a decision yet. But I learned that, you can go to some places and people will start you at $100,000, start you at $90,000 in education, being a teacher, because they
really
see
shit.
That.
Where? That's crazy.
See, that's the question.
That's
where?
Amazing.
But I'm saying it also to kind of speak it into some people's lives, is that, man, those opportunities exist. They don't not exist. They do exist. We wouldn't be sitting here talking about them if they didn't exist. Like, there's nothing new under the sun. For all my Christians out there who read the Bible or whatever, in the Bible there's a scripture that talks about there's nothing new under the sun, period. So anything you thought about, anything that you want to do with your life, it's an idea that, what I'm saying, God put there for you, or whoever you think God is in your life. That idea was implanted in you for you to do. You know what I'm saying? So, but
my thing, it just whatever you want to do is possible. It just takes hard work. Like, I feel like if you want to, whatever you want to do, I just say never quit. Like, if it's something I want to do, and in 80 years from now I've been hacking away at it, and I still want to do it, like, that should fuel me instead of discourage me. You know what I mean? Like, even if and like, are you religious? Because you mentioned God.
I am. I consider myself Christian. So yeah.
Okay. I was baptized in my life.
Okay.
But at this point, like, I don't know. Like, the last 4 or 5 years, I'm not, and I believe in God. Mm-hmm. And this actually isn't a thing I wanted to have on this podcast, but you brought it up, and I just figured I'd talk about it. I believe in God. I believe there is something, but even I feel like even that's divided. Mm-hmm. So I feel like even God is divided. Like, there's Christians, there's Muslims, there's people who are Buddhists, there's people that are atheists. Like, there's all these labels, and we forget, like, look, man, we're in this together. Like, we don't know what that side is like, but I know we're in this together. So I just hate that everything is so divided. Like, even like the title Christian. like not you in particular, but just people.
Yeah, the general term. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
like people label. I hate it. Like if everyone just said yes, I believe in God, and not kept it to themselves. I don't mean it, like I feel like you should express it, but it shouldn't divide us. Like a Christian and a Muslim shouldn't feel like they can't talk. A Christian and a Jew shouldn't feel like they can't.
Absolutely.
They have more in common than they have apart. And I feel like I don't know, like that. What were you gonna say? Go ahead, because I can go on forever.
I want to make a point on that, man, because what I've learned in my life is that as you continue to allow love to live in your life, you will understand that everything that we see every day is so much more similar than it is different. And all the differences that we fight each other against every single day really isn't all that different. No, and I'm actually doing this self-discovery thing right now with what love means to me. I know I mentioned earlier that I have a same-sex attraction, but I don't know if that's me. I don't know if that's going to be me years from now. And I'm comfortable being able to say that I still have an attraction level to women. I'm comfortable, but it's all who I've always been, and so I'm learning to kind of like live in that space and be okay with that process. I'm saying learning that it's okay to think this way, because most of society will tell us, no, it's not right, don't do that, blah, 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 blah. But what is love? And that's my project right now. What is love to me, and what is it to the world, and what does it mean to people? And getting all these definitions together isn't going to help me solve what love is, but it's going to help me be able to live it out more, and that's what's more important to me is loving others, man. Like, loving people unconditionally. There's some hateful people in this world. There's some mean people in this world. And sometimes, man, they say some of the nastiest, dirtiest things to you. And, as a Muslim or a Christian or someone who's Islam, you're supposed to walk in peace and not let that person offend you. But most of the time, we just want to knock the hell out of whoever it was, and say, "Screw my morals. You need to get your ass beat."
That's a fact.
Learn a lesson. But you feel me? That's all a part of that process, man, of living life and understanding that.
Now, I laughed before. It's so crazy that you say that, because if you told me, I don't know, 5 years ago that I'd be talking about what is love with. You said, like, I'm going to say, like you said, a person who was attracted to the same sex, I would think that was crazy. But like I said, the older I get and I realize, like, those things being in my head is what make other people fucking ignorant. So if I, like, I know I have friends that if I say it, I wouldn't say it, because it's not just something I would say, like, I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm interviewing a gay dude later. Like, I realize at this point that that's ignorant. You know what I mean? Like, I realize at this point that that's like, you shouldn't even, because I wouldn't want you to say, or anyone else to say, like, oh, I'm interviewing a black dude later. Like, I'm more than just that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more, and just like I talk about with Christians and whatever else, like, I'm more than just that title. But it is crazy just to like, and that's why I feel like I'm on the right path, because I am talking to people, and I said it to you before we started the show. Like, I treat my podcast like I bumped into somebody in a bar, and we have a conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's crazy that you also say that you're not sure if that's how you're going to feel 10, 20 years from now, tomorrow. You know what I mean? I actually never heard it put that way. I was talking to someone who identified as asexual. And they were, I think, I'm not even going to guess an age, but they weren't like old, they were still young to me, like under 30, you know what I mean? So when they said that, I was like, I don't know, like, I was like, see, what started it, as I said, that's a myth. And then they went fucking crazy, and I was like, whoa, okay. I was like, I said that fucked up. I was like, my bad, that was wrong of me. But like, if you're not sexually attracted to someone, that's fine. But like, you're not attracted to anyone, I was like, I don't know. I'm like, so you don't believe in love? And they were like, no, that's different. And I'm like, nah, I think that's what it's saying. Right. Like, it doesn't have to be, like, love doesn't have to be sex. It doesn't have to be that. Like, love just has to be spreading positive energy. I was like, we need either you got to get a new term or this shit ain't real. Because I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. You never know how you're going to feel. You may not have met that person or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be sex, you know, and like it's just about the love part. So you saying that, like you asking yourself what is love, is really crazy. Like wow, you really people. I think in order to find true happiness, you have to ask yourself what is love, because like is love happiness? Are we mixing those words up? We don't know.
Absolutely. And one of the things I wanted to add to that was that, you know, you can always be ready to ask yourself, because one of the things that I'm learning about being a part of it's actually LGBTQ IA now.
Whoa, yeah, you got to break that down to me. That's crazy.
Right. So so everyone knows the first couple of letters, but the last aspects of the letters are in intersectionality, and then I believe the A stands for it's coming from my mind now.
Is it asexual? Is it that?
I want to say it's asexual. It's leaving me right now.
Sure, not. And nowhere. And you know, people are smart. They'll do their Googles. They can look it up. But
look it up, because actually someone in class, literally this past week, it was on Tuesday, I was in my American government class, and this guy always runs his mouth about dumb stuff. So he ended up running his mouth about how, LGBTQ folks are still getting rights that black people can't even say they're getting. And he made a point, but at the same time, that wasn't the space to say what he said. Because after that, he even took it a step further and said, I mean, what the hell? Like, they keep adding more letters. And I literally stood up and stopped class. And I said, what you're not going to do is put someone or people or the people that you say that you dislike or you're jealous of. Actually, you're jealous of the civil rights process that LGBTQI people have had, which actually has been, I'm not comparing it to what African Americans went through at all, because it's a completely different thing. But what I am saying is, you being in America, you have to be ready to respect all these different kind of views. So with that being said, like, be ready to ask people what it is you want to be called. Who are you? What does that mean? Sorry, there's a fire truck coming by.
The listeners are going to kill me, but I don't mind. Go ahead. Don't worry about it.
What do you want me to call you? Do you want me to call you ma'am, Mr., sir? Because we have these definitive ideas of masculinity, like, right? Even in society, when we walk up to our friends there might be a girl there and a guy there and another girl, and we might walk up to them, and what's the first thing we say? Hey, guys.
How you guys doing?
Like,
I always do that.
Why is the masculine the dominant, you know what I mean? And
you know, I actually want to have this conversation with you.
It could actually be the opposite thing, and you could walk up to them and start saying, hey, girls. Like,
you know what's crazy? If that happened to me, I'd be like, bro, don't do that. Like that.
because it's not what you're used to.
But you know why, though? I believe... See, in my house, I have gender roles, but that's another... and that's why I guess you would say, like, why do you have those roles?
But what I'm saying about gender roles is... they are so misconstrued in our society, and if we would just have open conversations about this stuff, we wouldn't be so misconstrued and confused. You know, like I know for a fact, and I probably won't ever. I never felt like I had to ask you, but I was like, no, I'm not. You know, if he wants me to call him bro, I'm gonna call him bro. You know, if he wants me to call him man, I'm gonna call him man. If he wants me to call him by his name, I will address him by his name. But it's all these different identities, and that's what's crazy about being in America, because you're trying to make sure you don't offend anyone, and you don't want to offend people because that makes you feel like you're a horrible human being. But you know, it happens. We're human.
And I actually have a question about that, because maybe you can inform me. Not with the IA, like LGBTIA, that part I didn't know, but that part that doesn't bother me. Like I don't even think about that.
Right.
But as far as, and you know what, we'll get back to that. But as far as the gender, like what you identify as, I thought. I forget what is it, non-binary? Is that when you don't like commit?
No,
I don't want to use the wrong term.
There's non-binary, there's not conforming.
But like those, I actually was filling out a survey that someone sent me, and I saw that, And I was like, what the fuck is that? And I didn't know. I feel like, why isn't male or female good enough? Like, I feel like you're one or the other. If that makes, or is that ignorant of me? Like, I feel like if you don't want to identify, that's fine. But then you get people like, and that I guess the sex change thing is another conversation. And if someone has a sex change, I'm not like, I wouldn't be like, you were born a man, I'm gonna call you a man. Like, do you, fam? Right. But as far as like people that just don't want to be like, I'm like, but you have sexual organs. Like, that's why I'm like, with that, I'm like, that's kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, where is this going? No, go ahead.
And I understand your take because I am still dealing with the same questions, man. And you cannot be a responsible human being and not. You can't, like, as much as I love everyone, I really do.
Sure.
I have to ask those questions that the answers don't make any sense to me. So you have to ask those questions. You have to get to know someone who's in that space. And that's why I put myself around the people that I do. Because the more I put myself around those kinds of people and I ask questions, it makes me feel more complete and comfortable and loving in myself.
True. And that's why I ask you. Like, that's why I have to ask, because it'll make, like, if I'm doing something wrong, I always want people to tell me. Like, right? Like, if I don't know, I just assume I'm right, if that in my own sick way. So if no one ever says like, nah, that's fucking ignorant, I wouldn't. Why would I? You don't know what you don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would I assume that what I'm saying, I don't ever mean to offend anybody. So why would I assume that what I'm saying is wrong? You know what I mean?
Right. Because it's simply you expressing how you feel about that.
Correct.
And that has to also be, see, and this other thing, we're confused with when to advocate and when not to advocate in this country too. So, for example,
that's one thing I'm not confused about. I know when to mind my fucking business, but go ahead.
Yeah, but one of the things I mean when I say that is
no, I'm just messing around. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's try to make a scenario.
Sure.
There's a really strong, straight male, black man who grew up in the church, who says the word fags and doesn't support gay culture in any way. But question about that.
Oh damn! Your phone faded out a little. The last thing I heard was you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. The last thing I heard you said, as a black man being raised in the church, a strong black male being raised in the church. So you didn't.
Right. Because those same, and I'm not saying for all of them, but my question for that person, if there's one out there who's listening to the podcast, is what makes you so insecure about the fact that this person is going around and living their life? Because I hear a lot of people being offended and going through this stuff, but I also see a lot of people who aren't living in their truth. It doesn't matter if you're gay, it doesn't matter if you're straight, it doesn't matter whatever you are. But there are a lot of straight people walking around not living.
And that's true.
There's a lot of, and I mean, it doesn't have to do with sexuality, but my point is, look at all the different avenues. Like, if you're offended by the fact that somebody is this way, have you ever asked yourself, why does this offend you? Ultimately, not for anything that person is doing, but why is it bothering you?
Sure. And you know what else is crazy about that? I saw it on the flip side. I actually find the clip and I'll edit it into this podcast. So, and I'll send it to you after. But I found it was a guy. He's from The Read, actually. You ever listen to that podcast, The Read?
The Read. No,
I forget his name.
I've only listened to one podcast before. It's called Freakonomics. These two guys, and I can't remember their names. And God forbid they're listening to this, but they talk about economic prosperity and how to get you being economically prosperous in this country, because a lot of people aren't economically prosperous right now. A lot of people can't say they got $3,000 in the bank. Period. And just getting people to be more aware of how they save, how they spend their money, what they spend their money on, how all of that's important.
Sure. I got to check that out actually. But I just looked it up. The guy's name is Kid Fury. So the podcast is The Read with Kid Fury and Chriselle, and they were doing a podcast, and he's a gay man, and he said he was talking, and he's like, nothing brings me more joy than to see Rihanna like demasculate, or I don't know if it's demasculate or emasculate. I don't fucking know. But take Chris Brown's manhood, basically. Like she was like, just to see him in jail, it brings me such joy. And they went past it and they kept going, but it was like, hold on, bro, like that's weird. So I happened to be talking to talking to a gay dude in the bar, and I brought it up. This is like the third time I'm ever bringing it up, but the second time I was bringing it up, I brought up that, and he was like, yeah, like I absolutely love straight dudes when. Like a straight dude feels like a bitch, he said, and he was like, when a straight dude feels like they're not a man, and I was like, why would you ever? I was like, why do you give a fuck? And I said to him because I was like, see, because if I was to feel that way about you, like that's me caring, and like that would make me insecure and make me feel like. I don't know, like, who am I if I had to do that? If I had to hate you because of, or enjoy what you felt like was pain, you know what I'm saying? So, and I was like, if I felt that, you would call me like you would call me ignorant, and you would call me like a homophobe, and you call me all types of shit. And I was like, but you, it's the same thing. I'm like, that makes you whatever the opposite of a homophobe is, you know what I mean? Like, whatever the reverse is, and he was really like, no, it's different. It's different because he's a straight man, and I'm like, nah, bro. I'm like, it's the same. So I experienced it on the flip. And obviously, you know, like, we're gonna be realistic. Growing up, it was just no one said it. Like, the crazy shit is, I don't say the word, and my wife and my closest friends know. Like, I say maggot. I say maggot just because I don't even say the word. I'm like, yo, I'll say nigga in a minute. I say nigga to white people. I say it all the time. I was like, that word? I was like, nah, that word is some shit. I'm like, nah, that shit is worse than the N-word. So, like, growing up, when you hear that word, and Dave Chappelle said it in the stand-up, but when you hear that word, it's like, oh. Like, when you hear that, it's like, oh, shit. Yeah. So I'm like, yo, I tell the worst jokes imaginable. Like, absolutely. I'm like, nah, that's where I even draw the line. Like, nah, bro. Like, like fuck funny. That. You ain't going, like, nah. But, now, I forget what we were talking about, because you're a cool ass dude. Like, it's cool. It's funny that I would actually talk to you in a bar and we said it. But now, this is something we haven't talked about yet, but I did notice it in your social media profiles. Mm-hmm. And it to the listeners, this isn't like, I don't know, like, this is not, and to not fuck the listeners. It's more to you. If there's anything you don't want to talk about, please, I'll even edit out of the podcast, even this part. Like, if you don't want me to talk about it, I won't. But I'm actually curious myself. So if it's not podcast material to you, I don't want you to say it, or I don't want you to go there. But to me, it's in your social media profile. That's why I figured, like, all right, I guess I could ask. But so you are a person living with HIV, correct?
Correct. Yep.
That's so. What made you like put it in your social media profile? We'll start there.
Well, it was actually kind of spur of the moment. Not like thought about the last minute, but like spur of the moment, as in one day I was like, well, what if I just let me see what happens. So,
it wasn't. I know that seemed kind of random, but I was thinking about titles and labels, and it just crossed my mind, so I figured I had to bring it up. But please go ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't mind talking about it. But yeah, I felt alone in what I was going through, and I felt that my family and friends needed to know a part of the real me. Because for a couple of years there, no one did know. My mom actually found out after some of my closest friends did. Wow. So that can tell you a lot about how long it took me to say something, and then when I did say something, how comfortable I was talking about it. You know, so, but yeah, I just one day I was like, I'm going to put, I guess HIV/AIDS activist on there. And at the time, I didn't even know what an activist was. I just knew this word means that I'm doing something about this, and I can do this in my own way. And I never put pressure on that. I never said, oh, I'm going to travel and speak to people, and I never said that. I just said I just want to help others be more know what I'm going through, but know that this isn't all that I am, and I won't be kind of defeated from it, if that kind of makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And does it say activist? I forget. And I'm only saying
that. It doesn't now.
No, but that's what I'm only saying that because you know what? If it said activist, I probably would have, because one of my closest friends, both his parents died of HIV. Oh, well, I guess it
or
AIDS.
Complications.
Yeah, complications. Right. Sorry. Yeah. So complications with HIV. They died. So if you would have said activist, I mean, knock on wood. I don't mean it that way, but I would have assumed it was for someone. But when you said like when whatever I saw, I was like, oh shit! I was like, wow.
It actually says conquering HIV.
Oh right. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, yeah. Because I just remember like how the way I saw it, I was like, wow. I wonder what made him like put that in. I wonder what made him share that.
Yeah, and the reason I put that is because my friends helped me come up with this, but I had been trying to figure out ways that I could talk about this, but talk about it in an empowering way, not in a way that's saying, "Oh, woe is me! Look what I'm going through! Everybody, look at me! I feel so bad." I didn't want to do that.
Sure.
And every day, the reason why it does say conquering HIV because every day I am conquering it, and so it is a state of being. When I see that, and when I see it, it affirms myself. It affirms me, and it allows me to know that, dude, you're doing this. You're winning. You're beating it, and you're okay. You will continue to be okay. And so that's why I put conquering HIV.
How long have you been living with it?
So it's 2017 now. So it was November. I've been living with HIV since 2013.
Oh wow.
So yeah. So just a couple of years. And I'm actually like undetectable now and healthy and fine. So I actually need to, as soon as I get a chance to get back to Florida, I need to make another doctor's appointment.
What do you mean by undetectable? What is that?
Okay. So undetectable is a new term, like, it's not really new in HIV, in the field of HIV, but for a lot of people don't know. But the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, they actually just made an announcement literally about a month or so ago, admitting that scientifically, when you are an HIV positive person and you are undetectable, you cannot spread the disease at all to anyone.
Really?
But undetectable means that you have taken the medicine and you've allowed the medicine, you take it every day to kind of allow your viral load to go to zero. Now, that's what undetectable means. When your viral load's at zero, it doesn't mean that your viral load is completely eliminated or gone, if that makes any sense. It just means that there's such a low amount of the virus in your body that it cannot be detected in science.
Wow,
if that makes sense. Yeah.
That makes so. If you went to like an urgent care right around the corner and took a STD test with who tested for HIV, it would say negative.
Well, not necessarily, because your diagnosis, when you get a diagnosis, that doesn't change.
Sure.
So, I don't know any of the reasons why someone would want to get tested again for HIV if they knew that they were positive, you understand? But other than to make sure that their health is all right and is okay. But you get that stuff from your doctor, your primary care doctor, so you have no reason to go. You know what I mean? But yeah. So
like I never had the conversation before. That's why I feel like I have so many questions and I don't want to like overload with you. But like with. Obviously, the most notable case of a person with HIV is Magic Johnson.
Yeah, he's one of the most figures in the world, actually. Yeah. Sure.
So, like for example, like I saw a picture, and I never even knew it was real because I tried to find out, but it was just a lot of I didn't know where to turn. But I saw a picture of him giving blood, and I was like, oh, I didn't like it. Like surprised me. I was like, oh, I didn't know that you could do that. Like I didn't know a person who was HIV positive could give blood. Mm-hmm. So like, is that?
Well, I think that goes back to the whole undetectable thing. I personally haven't been able to give blood, and since I wasn't able, I haven't even tried since.
Sure.
But I will say this: Magic Johnson has a lot of money, so there are ways, and I probably can believe that there's a ways that people can get around having their blood and then having. And I don't know. I think that just goes back to the undetectable because, right, if we sit here and we say, okay, Magic Johnson got something to remove the HIV from his blood, then all of a sudden we've cured HIV and AIDS.
Right. That's why I didn't even say it like that. Like, Magic Johnson, I don't think it, like, I don't,
so
at that point, I don't know.
I really think it's more on the path of the whole undetectable thing. But I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
Like, it was just a picture, so that's why I say anything could have been happening. We don't know. It's the fucking internet. So, did you got it from, like, sex or from, like, drug sharing or whatever?
Yeah, so I was, like, a couple of years ago when I was younger, I was really out there as far as, like, sex. Like, anything and anyone I could do it with, that type of out there is what I mean. So I don't know who it was because I had so many, like, sexual partners, and so that's kind of how I contracted it. And I kind of, at this stage in my life, I used to always want this, but I used to always wonder why didn't the person, just tell me before? But, and this is for people out there too, because a lot of people say, oh, well, he didn't tell me or he didn't reveal it to me. But a lot of questions that people don't ask themselves is, did you even ask the person about their status?
Very true.
And we don't.
It's strange, but it's an uncomfortable talk to have when it should happen. And I've always done it because I don't give a fuck. But I know that other people wouldn't ask.
We as young men and women, we love to point the finger at people and be able to make someone responsible for our pain.
Sure.
When in some cases, we were responsible for our own pain and for our own, you know what I mean? So.
Sure. Do you ever? So are you, when you're seeing someone or you're going to meet someone, or at what point do you tell them?
I think most people who I met, yeah. Most people, when I tell them, it's, for the most part, I've gotten messages of love and I've got affection and all that. So I won't say that it's been really super negative. I've only got like maybe a couple negative, and then most of the time people are just scared because they don't know about being undetectable. They don't know about the science of HIV. They don't know about the science of the medicine. So it's a lot that people don't understand, even in 2017. But I mean, most people meet me and they find out because of my social media. And if they don't find out through my social media, I'll bring it up in conversation. Like, oh, I'm a community guy. I like to talk to people about my story and the importance of being tested, all that kind of stuff. And then that leads that person to ask, in most cases, oh, okay, well, why do you advocate for HIV, or why do you talk about that? And then that allows me to say that to them, and that usually happens in the very beginning, because I don't believe in cutting corners, and I don't believe in surprises. When I first discovered that someone didn't kind of reveal that to me, I never wanted to have that happen to anybody else in my life.
And you have no idea who it was.
Right.
So
and I never wanted to take someone's choice away. And this is something I want the listeners to really, really, really understand, is that, being HIV positive has its challenges, but give people the option to choose if they want to have sex with you or if they want to be with you.
Sure.
Because those people that are going to be with you are the mature people that understand everything they need to understand about HIV, about you, about sex, about all that. So you're really going to find it with the more mature people. But always ask, always be ready for that. You know what I'm saying?
No, of course. And I wanted to actually ask you that. California just reversed the law. Like, I don't know when they put it in, but they just recently reversed the law that not making it a felony to not tell someone that you have HIV and have sex with them. And I thought that was like, you should have to tell me, you should have to tell someone. Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, if we're going to have a conversation in a bar, it's none of my fucking business. If we're going to be best friends forever, and you don't want to tell me, that's fine. If you're gonna do that to someone and you put that on them and be sexually active with someone and not tell them, like, that's terrible to me. Like, I thought, I'm like, how could you not make that I just feel like you said, you have to give the other person a choice.
Yeah.
Because
it's a felony in the state of Florida too.
Sure.
But what I will say, because I feel like people need to hear this too, is that while I agree with the arresting folks, because there are people out there, and I will say this too, so please listen to this too. There are folks out here who are HIV positive, who have been diagnosed with AIDS, which is the next step up, and they are literally living the rest of their remainder of their life making sure they give it to people. And so I don't want people to be ignorant to something like that, but I don't want that to make people become fearful that all HIV positive people are doing that. You understand what I'm saying? Because not all HIV positive people are doing that. A lot of HIV positive people are out here trying to live in their truth and communicate that this is what they're going through. But there are people that are
that even 10 persons spreading a positive message and one person doing that with it is that it's fucked up, but the person doing that is going to have the most impact on people.
Like, and this is the other thing that people have to understand too, is like, not to justify the action or the negative action, but people are hurt.
That's exactly what I mean. So if you had a choice,
earlier,
right? Sure.
Which is what I was saying earlier. You have to learn that when you go through pain, you got to make it joy. You got to make it happiness. You can't keep it pain, because if you keep it pain, you're going to want to go hurt someone else in whatever way is most pleasing and appealing to you. And in this case, that's what is most appealing and pleasing to them, because they don't see any joy in life anymore, in living, and any hope. And it's embarrassing to go talk to their family about it, or why could they ever go to their mom about it, because their mom is like this way or that way. There's so many scenarios. Sure. But just communicating that, and I've learned this, and I'll say this too, I've learned that because I communicate this to people and I talk to people about this, I've gotten way more respect and love than I ever had if I had never said anything, because people wouldn't know what you're going through.
Right.
People would have no idea, so they would go about their day-to-day life and just pass you by like you didn't matter. And I'm not saying that people who don't say stuff don't matter, but what I am saying is saying something and communicating what you're going through, and not just HIV, anything, to your loved ones or people that care, it does something for your mental health and for that person's mental health, and it gives you a system of support that you need to live. You need love to live. You need your friends and family around you to live. You can't just walk around in life just like, oh.
Is there like a hotline that people could call? Is there?
I wish. I
guess you could Google it. Like if you're listening and you feel like you can't talk to, I'm sure there's someone that's willing to listen. Like you Google, like we Google music and we Google everything else. If the information, I'm sure it's out there for you.
Google them for sure, and there are tons of numbers out there. I know a lot of the major cities have numbers and support groups and resources that you can take advantage of, and really take advantage of it, man, because more than anything, your mental health is important.
Course.
You have got to take care of your mental health, and if HIV is something that's affecting your mental health, or vice versa, where someone who's positive and it's affecting your mental health and you're not positive, then you need to go talk to them about it. That's why I said the communication factor is so freaking important.
Sure. So what were you thinking when you first, like, were you going to get tested because you were highly sexual active? And you're like, oh, let me just go check it out, or did you see something at school?
I first got tested because I was scared. There was stuff that was happening in my body, like symptoms that were coming up, and everything that I researched and looked up kind of just pointed right back to HIV. So I was scared for some years actually to get tested. Then when I got to Bethune-Cookman in 2011, I was still scared, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just leave it alone. And then 2013, I went to get tested for the first time. And that's when I found out I was HIV positive.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking? Like what when it happened? Wait, obviously, other than like who were you like? Did you feel alone, or did you feel like you wanted revenge, or did you feel?
Yeah. I was crying literally on the lady's shoulder. She had a white envelope, and I'll never forget it. She had a white envelope. It was already torn open because she had already looked at my result, because she wanted to be. Her training is being prepared to talk to that person about whatever result it is.
Wow.
So they have to look at it before they talk to you about it. But I cried like a baby. I don't think I've cried as hard as I have at that moment until my grandfather had passed away when I was younger. And both of those moments were pretty impactful in my life. But yeah, it was like a couple of years ago, I actually had the Daytona Beach News Journal. They wrote an article on what I was doing on campus, and I had described to them as it felt like a bus had just like hit me. And I don't even know what a bus hitting me feels like.
No, sure.
What I do know is it can kill you, and I felt like I had the wind knocked out of me. I felt like I couldn't, like I was laughing hysterically while I was crying, and I had to actually gasp for air and slow down because I was hyping myself up way too much. But it was a very painful moment for me.
Sure. And with all that being said, and when you say you don't know what feeling like a bus, feeling. I can't even gather the word. It's crazy. Like that feeling of being hit by a bus. When you say it and I hear your story, and I don't know if everybody else listening felt it, but I felt that shit. So when you say that feeling, like I felt like you took us there, and then you being the positive person you are, it's actually amazing to hear. You know what I mean? Like when you tell that was when people say rock bottom, like metaphorically, I'm sure that's why that is the way it is. You know what I mean? But when you say that
was my rock bottom.
Oh no, I'm sure. I could imagine, sure. And then, like you said, the passing of your grandfather, which I'm sure everyone can relate to, having someone they're close to pass away.
They love, yeah, absolutely.
So when you say those two things in that combination, and then you're the positive person who you are, like that's a beautiful thing. And that is mainly why like we were saying all that to say that is why I wanted you on the podcast, because you really, even from social media and even from just not ever having a conversation with you, the way you word things and the way you spread positive energy, you really know and feel that it's genuine. You feel like, wow, this guy, like, it's something about him. Like you have a light about you, and I always want you to keep that. I always want you to keep that positivity, because whether you know it, well, even if you don't know it, I'm telling you now, you really affect people for the better, and you do make people want to be positive, and you make people want to just spread good energy.
Thank you. Honestly, you'll find this out about me as we, build our friendship and stuff. Is like, I'm a really like emotional guy. So when I think about the things that I've been through and the growth, and we all go through growth, right? We all go through growth, and
sure,
it's amazing seeing how you were somewhere one day and where I am now. It's nice to know that, because it makes me feel good about myself, and that's what we have to do. We have to constantly affirm each other and affirm our leaders, affirm the people who are going to be out front talking about this stuff to other people. Man, it means the world to me. Thank you. Absolutely,
man. And listen, I don't have anything more to say. I don't know what else we could add to that.
I'll tell folk, whether you're gay, straight, whatever you are, wrap it up, be safe, have your little sex, because sure, a lot of us don't have sex positivity in our lives either, because we don't like to talk about our sexual experiences. But I know y'all be out there.
Oh, y'all fucking don't give me.
That's what I say, man. Like,
they're gonna do it, but what the man is saying,
we have to have those conversations,
just
man.
Protect yourself at all times. But
yeah, man, and know that it's okay to have fun. Like, don't be afraid to have fun. There's people out here afraid to have fun because of STDs, STIs. HIV is one of those STDs. But it's just like,
don't be afraid of the fun.
Enjoy your life.
Be afraid of the ignorance.
Yeah, be afraid of the ignorance. Yeah.
But yo, man, seriously. Other than the show, I thank you for even doing that, man. You're a good person, and this is when I'd ask the bartender for their tab and say I'm gonna get that. So I gotta buy you. I owe you a drink. I owe you at least one. I don't know if you drink. We can buy water. I don't know, but
hey, man, I'm about to get off the podcast and walk into a bar. So
there you go. Hey, listen.
Myself.
But it was good talking to you, man.
For sure.
We're gonna do this again soon. Enjoy the bar, and I'll talk to you soon.
Man. All right. Thank you.
Later, bro. listeners, whatever you're listening on, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go rate this. So if you're in the iTunes store, go ahead. If you feel like I deserve 1 star, go for it. But if you enjoyed what you heard, go ahead and give that 5 stars. And if you're on anything else, like this and share it with somebody who you think needs to hear it.